Hello and welcome to the Ally Nutrition Podcast, the one and only podcast where we tackle the hardest questions around what constitutes a good, healthy kidney diet. Whether you're a patient, a carer, a nephrologist, or a dietitian, I'm sure you'll learn something new today about what constitutes a good, healthy kidney diet. My name is Carl Juresic. I'm the co-podcast lead here on behalf of Kidney Ally. This is a podcast all about kidney nutrition, and today we're going to be talking about restaurants and fast food. I'll pass on to my co-host.
So I'm Ruth Kander. I'm a kidney specialist dietitian. I work in London and I'm here talking about kidney nutrition. I've been talking to patients about kidney nutrition for 20 years, so hopefully I have a little bit of knowledge to share.
Awesome. And kind of, I'll kick us straight off. So we'll just jump straight into it. So as a kidney transplant patient myself, I've always loved fast food, and I'm sure everyone does love a bit of a cheeky delivery or going to a restaurant or some sort of McDonald's every now and then. But probably the first question is like, what is your view of fast food generally? Like, be that from a ready meal made in Pret, which in the UK is like a local fast food shop for sandwiches and stuff, or a fast food from McDonald's, or what is your general consensus around, pre-prepared meals that are made for on the go for kidney patients?
I think pre-prepared meals are great because when you're in a hurry or you're not feeling well, it's great to have something just there that you can have. The problem with them is, unfortunately, they're very high in salt, and salt is a little bit of not great for people with kidney disease. But then also sometimes when you're sick, you need something quick, and that is there. So I realize that. I think that it's interesting because before lockdown, I used to see loads of people in the city, and all they had all day long was processed food and ready food, and I just thought their salt intake must be enormous. And then when lockdown happened, obviously everyone had to make their own foods, everything was shut, so I thought, great, all these people, they're going to get so much healthier. So yes, it is healthier to have fresh food, but fast food is also really nice. I think you can make better choices with fast food. So you can say, if something's being freshly made in front of you, you can say, oh, please don't add any salt because I don't like to have very much salt. I think there are fast foods that are better than others. So say, for example, grilled chicken and rice and salad from a Middle Eastern style restaurant is probably better than KFC. I think something like sushi or like noodles and salmon and vegetables is probably better than something like fish and chips. So I think it depends, what you want, what you like, how often as well. Like if you're someone who eats out regularly or has fast food regularly, then make healthier choices most of the time, and then the unhealthy choices once a week or once in 2 weeks, something like that.
So in regards to probably the most famous one all around the world, because we've got a lot of people in our group from Philippines, a lot of people from the US, a lot of people from Australia and the UK. McDonald's is probably universal. Why don't I'll kind of mention my order that I do, and how often I do it, and you tell me if it's bad, because I've changed this order over time because I've learned over the past 10 years of having a transplant how to actually change my diet, because at the beginning, the doctors usually just say, just try and be healthy. They don't really give you too much advice, and you don't really know what to do, which we all get panicky. So over time, I used to just eat what I used to do, which was probably really bad. I used to get like, cheeseburgers and French fries and all these other things, soft drinks. Now my order is, which I, get McDonald's, I don't know, once every few months. It's not like every week. But when I do go, I'll get kind of a fillet of fish, because I know that I actually worked at McDonald's when I was like in high school, like when I was 14. So I do know what's actually the bad stuff that's in there. So I was like, I get a fillet of fish meal. Sorry, I don't get a fillet of fish meal. I get a fillet of fish and then a water and then a small McFlurry for dessert. And then so I avoid the chips and I avoid the soda, and I do have a burger. if I don't get the filet fish burger, I get the veggie deluxe burger, which is just a vegetable patty and a bunch of vegetables. And then I have a bit of not the big McFlurry, just get a small one for dessert. But is that like, I feel like that's as far as you can really stretch McDonald's to make it okay. Is that okay as an order?
Yeah, it sounds fine to me. The truth is, I would say, I mean, that sounds as healthy in inverted commas as you can get with McDonald's. But I would say, like, I really say to people, like, I feel like life is to be enjoyed as well. And I think if you're doing this every day, then obviously no, it's not good. But if you're going once in a month or once in 2 months, I kind of like to say to people, just go for it. Have all the things that you love.
Have a cheeseburger. I've had a cheeseburger in like 10 years.
If you didn't do it very often, then go for it. If it's something that is regular, then obviously don't go for it every time. But I mean, what you've said is very sensible, and really fine, no problem at all. I think with the soda, I think the only thing I would say, if like someone really likes soda, I say that's fine, but go for like Sprite or 7-Up, and if you're overweight or diabetic, have a diet one. But otherwise, it's fine. It's just the dark ones that are loaded with phosphoric acid, which are not so bad. But actually this is going to sound really weird, but in kidney transplant patients, some patients have such low phosphate levels, and I've had this with 1 or 2 dialysis patients actually on chemotherapy. Their phosphate levels have been so incredibly low, and I hate to say this, but I've had to tell them to have a bit of cola to bring up their phosphate levels, because they were so low, and really low phosphate levels will make you very low on energy, because phosphate is part of the energy molecule. So if you're really low on energy and your phosphates are really low, you've got to get it up. And she was eating cheese and yogurt and all the things that are good. And I just said to her, you know what, just have a can of Coke every few days to bring it up, and it brought it up. Oh, really? So, I mean, yeah, but I don't, I'm saying it on here, but I feel like just, only do it if you really need to, but it does work. If you need it to work, it does work. But a light cola, or an orangeade or Sprite or whatever is fine, or apple. Fizzy apple is that, Tango is fine, is really fine.
And the other fast food that we've seen from our group, and kind of we looked at Google search as well to see what a lot of people look for, is Italian food, and primarily pizza. And I think when I got my transplant and kind of understanding more around CKD, that's probably, if you got it from like a Domino's or a fast food joint, that's going to be loaded with salt, and it's almost like a no-go. So should I stop eating pizza altogether, or is there a way that I can eat pizza?
So again, if you're only having a pizza from Domino's or Pizza Hut or wherever you have it from once in a month, go for it. Enjoy it. Have a great evening. But if it's a regular thing, if you want to do it on a regular thing, it's actually a lot better to make it at home. And you can make homemade pizza really easily, and it's also quite healthy as well. And actually, I found some recipes that use yeast and no yeast, so we can post those as well with this or on our group. And it's so easy. And if you use whole wheat flour, okay, I was actually going to try and see or you could try actually, see if you can make a pizza base with granary flour or a 7-seed flour. I was going to give it a try and see if it works. So if you do that with the base, that's fine. I looked actually at one of the supermarket websites for low salt tomatoes. So passata was the lowest salt and tomato paste or sauce.
And passata is amazing for making pizzas, because when I used to make pizzas back in the day, because of the liquidy nature of it, it's actually really good for a pizza tomato base.
Oh, okay. When we make pizza at home, I actually use a pita bread, and we use the paste in a tube because it's a lot easier to keep in the fridge, and that's how we do it at home. But so a whole wheat base, passata on the top, and then put some cheese. Don't put tons of cheese, because cheese is really high fat and really salty. It's more the salt that's a problem in the cheese, and the calories if you're overweight. But then just load it up with vegetables, like loads, like peppers, mushrooms, tomatoes, aubergine, anything you like. Load it up with vegetables. And actually, that's a really healthy pizza. If you put loads of processed meat, sausage, pastrami, pepperoni, then you're increasing the bad fats, the unhealthy fats in it. You're increasing the salt, and it's not great. But if you do, so base whole wheat, passata for the tomato, some cheese, tons of veg, can't be healthier than that.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. And I think that with my understanding is if you have high potassium, is that tomatoes are a bad thing? It's more like
the tomato's high.
Yeah, I think that's because I saw that in the group as well. A lot of people saying they miss eating tomatoes. And I think that as someone who has normal potassium, I could make that at home because it's pretty much got no salt. Especially if you remove the cheese, then you could, it's more if you don't have the potassium with the red sauce. Another one that is very popular for takeaway, I think, is like Asian food. Coming from Australia, like that's very popular in Australia because of the closeness to Asia. It's very, very popular in the UK. And I know Chinese food is very popular in the US. Chinese food, especially, I think, is known to be very high in fat and very salty. Is there a particular Asian cuisine that you find that might lean towards, like you were saying before, Mediterranean seems healthier versus KFC, but like if you're having a craving for some Asian-y, umami, savory food, is there a cuisine that you feel that it is like Chinese, or maybe there is a Chinese option that you think is okay?
That's quite tricky because they use a lot of, it's more the salt than anything else. That's the truth. So I guess, you could maybe ask if they, if they're making it, if they make it fresh, ask for not too much salt. But there's going to be loads of salt in the curries, and there'll be loads of salt in the stir fries. So I don't think there's getting away from it. But again, if it's the only thing you're having that week that's high in salt, and the rest of the time you're eating at home, and that day you're quite careful about what you eat, it doesn't matter so much that you're having your favorite takeaway that day, because you've been very careful. You're not having, you're not eating out on a regular basis. That makes a massive difference. If you're doing this as a regular thing every evening or every other night, then yes, it's difficult. But I just think have it, enjoy it, make the most of it. It might make you feel very thirsty. So if you're on dialysis, it might make you feel really thirsty. So I would have it on a day where you've had dialysis that day, or it's the day before dialysis, but not a weekend. So for example, midweek. So if you have dialysis Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday is probably a good day to have a takeaway, because then Friday you're going for dialysis and you won't drink as much.
Really interesting. Is the thirstiness, is that because you've eaten so much salt, or is that because you're dehydrated?
No, it's the salt. The salt drives thirst massively. I know, and I don't have kidney problems, but I know when I have a takeaway, oh my goodness, I am so thirsty, because I don't really cook with a lot of salt, because I'm actually quite careful. I'm a bit scared of salt. But when I have a takeaway, I'm so thirsty that night, and the next day it's quite unbelievable. And I think to myself, I don't know how kidney patients do it, because they just need, if you're on dialysis and you don't pass much urine and you're on a very strict restriction, it's really difficult. So I would say if you dialyse Monday, Wednesday, Friday, have it on a Thursday. If you dialyse Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, have it on a Friday night, and then you're having dialysis the next day, and there's not enough time to drink too much and be overloaded.
Yeah, that's really interesting about this, because I think I did have a curry the other day, and I did remember actually getting quite like a dry throat, and you need to drink lots of water as well, because I pretty much tried to almost get to 0 salt every day. So then when I do have something, it must really flare it up. Is there a way of finding out like how much sodium there is in stuff? Because it feels like some patients will have issues with phosphorus and potassium, but across the board, everyone in the group needs to watch salt. And is there a way of finding out maybe the thirst is, but that's really going to be after. Is there a way on menus? I'm guessing it's really hard because, you know, McDonald's doesn't, you know, go to McDonald's and be like, excuse me, I would like to order a Big Mac. How much salt is in that? Like, it's really hard to, is there like a tip on finding out what they should order or what they shouldn't order, or how to find it?
So I've noticed that some websites have some nutrition information, and nutrition information has become quite big in the UK in the last 10 years or so. So some, like I know, for example, Pret and Eat, and some of the, like quite a few of the restaurants have got their own website. I just downloaded actually nutrition information from Domino's Pizza, I think. So if you want to eat out and you're going to choosing a restaurant, go to their website and have a look at their nutrition information. Now, I don't know how reliable it is because I don't know what software they've used. Every company will use different software, but you'll get a good idea as to, you know, how much sodium. And I think the average amount of sodium you want to reach a day is about, not average, maximum, I think it's 2,500 milligrams of
I try and give
sodium.
myself, I use FitnessPal, and what I do is I try and get to below 1,200 because I'm like, if I can get below half of what I'm supposed to do, then that's probably good every day. Then if you go over, you really realize that sometimes if you put in like a pizza, sometimes like a pizza might be like 5,000, you know, there could be so much. I think in the UK, looking at the labels when you do on the go food, they're quite good in the UK by having red, yellow, green. I think that's been probably one of the best things nutritional wise, because it's already hard enough for us to understand the names of things we need to look for, but then you need to figure out the grams, and the grams actually, it's not like 1 to 10. It's always like, I know with potassium, it's like 4,000, and then in sodium, it's 1,000, and then phosphorus is some X, Y, Z. So in the UK, they've got the red, yellow, green. So obviously I think the advice then would be, if you're getting a sandwich on the go, don't get the red ones. There probably won't be many green ones, because green ones usually comes from natural ingredients. So just try and limit the red ones. Yeah.
I just looked actually on Nutrimen. I don't know if you can see it. So pizza, so 100 grams of pizza is 330 milligrams of sodium. So, but 100 grams is not very much.
Is that, but is that, it says retail there. Is that going to be?
Like so it's any, it could be, you know, they probably analysed at the time a whole load of, you know, supermarket ones and Domino's or Pizza Hut or that kind of thing, and put together a value based on that. I think. But that's just have a look.
Is that's 300 grams per 100 grams? That's going to be quite a lot, because I'm guessing that a piece of pizza is going to be more than 100 grams.
Yeah. So. So if I just look at my Carbs and Cals app, actually we can look at pizza sizes. And see, I mean, 100 grams of pizza is nothing. And the problem with pizza, it's really bad value for money in terms of calories and filling you up. So I would say to someone, if you are having pizza, maybe have a soup beforehand, like a homemade vegetable soup, and have a salad on the side with it as well, so that you have a bit more food than just the pizza. Because if you're just having the pizza, you're going to eat so much of it before you're full.
So I've got Domino's medium pizza. 8 slices is 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
So that's like a day's your entire calorie intake for the day is.
For the week. 8
slices. So the full Domino's slice, so the full Domino's pizza, 8 slices. And it's on FitnessPal, so it might be incorrect, but it's 2,000 calories for the 8 slices.
Oh, sorry, 2,000. Yes, so that's a whole day's intake, yeah.
And then it's 3,360 milligrams of sodium. So that's the 1.5 times your daily sodium intake.
Yeah.
Pizza, and probably your entire calorie intake for the day.
So 70 grams of pizza. All right, so just over 100 grams of pizza looks like this much. Right, so it's 400 calories, 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of fat, 8 grams of saturated fat. It hasn't got salt here, but that's a lot. It's a lot for not much food.
Yeah. What's creating all the fat in that? Is it what makes it so?
Cheese. The
The
cheese.
You know what? It's so interesting because there's a pizza place beneath my building, which is even worse because pizza is definitely my favorite food. As a kid, I liked Ninja Turtles, and they used to eat pizza, so it convinced me to eat pizza. And so, great marketing for whoever made pizza. But
Yeah.
beneath me is this amazing pizzeria, and me and my wife used to go all the time until I kind of changed my food diet. But they've actually got a pizza there with no cheese, cheese on it.
Oh, really?
And it's in Italian. It's called a marinara pizza, which is just basically the red base with garlic. And I actually really like it without the cheese. So to know that the main cause is going to be the cheese is a good thing.
Yeah. So if you look at, I don't know where you can see this, but if you look at cheese, right? So 50 grams of cheese is 17 grams of fat, 200 calories, and there'll be much more than that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the main contributor, and also it depends how the base was made. So if it was made with lots of, like at home, I wouldn't put oil in the base. I would just make it flour and water, really, or flour, yeast and water, maybe a tiny bit. So again, it depends on how the base was made, and also what sauce was used. So, if it was a tomato sauce made with salt and oil and all that, that will also increase the calories. And that's why I think, although pizza's nice to have as a quick takeaway and it's yum, if you're having it once a month, no problem. But if you're want it more regularly, then make it at home.
And then the last cuisine I've got on here that kind of is searched quite a lot and kind of very popular is Indian food. It does sometimes get lumped with Asian food, but I wanted to kind of separate it because with Asian you really get like Thai, Chinese, Vietnamese, and then like with Indian food is almost, if you're in the UK, it's a massive thing. Might not be as big in the US or the Philippines, but I know that in Australia it's also huge. So is Indian food, is that generally as salty as the other Asian food?
I guess so, because all restaurants and takeaways will use quite a lot of salt in their food, and it's a dish, so they want it to be tasty, so they use salt. But I think you can say to them, is it possible to use their salt? I also think it's possible that in today's day and age, where people are more conscious of what they're eating, more conscious of healthy eating, it might be that actually proprietors aren't using as much salt, I like to think, than previously. But maybe, I think it's hard to know, and I think I would always say, can you use their salt? The thing is also the Asian community, there's a lot of diabetes, chronic kidney disease, high blood pressure. So, maybe they're more aware and they would reduce salt a bit, a bit more in their cooking. But the curries can be very oily. So, I would recommend ordering like a biryani, which is much drier than a very wet curry, which could be a lot more oily. And some of the breads are fried, like puri is fried. And some of the, the side dishes.
Naan would be very oily and I'm guessing fried.
I think roti is probably the least of the evils, if you like, because it's just flour and water is roti. So yeah, naan has probably got a bit of fat in it. But rice and the roti or chapati is probably better to have as a side dish. And then of course, there's a lot of vegetables in Indian cooking. So if you load up on vegetables and have if you're a few of you together, you could order like a rice and a chapati roti and a vegetable curry and a chicken curry. And that way you're going to have a bit of everything. And it's quite a nice experience and sharing. And dals are good as well, because obviously that is lentils and beans. So that's good. Or chickpea curry is a good one to have. So yeah.
And they use paneer quite a lot as well. Is that a high fat cheese or is that a okay cheese? What?
I think it's okay. I think it probably is high fat. Is high fat. I know that it for kidney patients, actually, for my dialysis patients, I know that it's quite good because it's not high in phosphate and it's not that high in potassium, so it's quite good for them. It's not so high fat. It's 12 grams of fat, quite low potassium and phosphate as well, which is really good. At least that's a little bit of a saving grace for my lovely Gujarati patients.
And then, so the last area of kind of fast food, I think, which is quite popular with people, is maybe not so much during COVID because everyone's stuck at home and they can't get delivery. They get delivery instead. But a lot of people had been, going for brunch and kind of that kind of whole going to a coffee shop and getting, coffee on the go is when you go to a brunch, and it's really popular in Australia. And having traveled to LA and New York in the States, it's kind of very popular over there. And in London, it being here 10 years, it's really boomed in London over the past 10 years. And so when you go for a brunch, I'm guessing most people order coffee and then a breakfast dish. Is there something to look out for with ordering coffee or takeaway coffee, and then also with food that they order from brunch, or in the UK it's also sometimes get a fry up, which is like bacon and sausages and all that kind of stuff as well?
So I think it depends, what stage you're at, and are you looking at diabetes, are you overweight, or are you normal weight? So I think it depends. So in terms of the coffees, I think some of them are quite high in sugar, and again, it's on their websites, actually, a lot of them. But I think if you're worried about overall calories, I think you can say, can I have a skinny coffee, and it's lower calorie.
That is such a big insight, because I found this from on using the what do you call that? I switched from regular milk to oat milk because I thought it was healthier. Then I realized during lockdown that I was having 2 or 3 coffees a day, and I cut back to 2. But then I looked at the app, and Oatly milk was so high in fat that I switched to skim milk, and I think I lost a kilo or 2 just by doing that, because it was skim milk has barely any calories in it, and just by having 50 gram, or how much milk's in a coffee, reducing that every day, I was able to kind of easily lose weight just by drinking skim milk.
Yeah, so watch for that. So ask for skinny if you're worried. Go for, let's say, latte. If you're really worried, you can, they've got plenty of herbal teas, regular tea, that kind of thing you can go for. In terms of food, so the best, I think, the healthiest kind of breakfast would be something like whole grain bread with, cottage cheese or tuna and vegetables. That's quite a popular one. If you're going for like a whole thing, you can often order things like that, I think, or eggs, any cooked anyway, scrambled, fried, whatever you like. I think that's probably the healthiest. And then I would say probably granola and yogurt is a good one as well, with fruit, and that's a good one. The problem with granola is there's quite a lot of sugar and honey in it, so it can be a little bit of a problem, but I think that's really healthy. I mean, I have that a lot. If I go out for breakfast, I'll have like the toasted sandwiches, tuna and vegetable and salad, and a cappuccino, or I'll have granola and yogurt. I love that. I think in terms of the good old English fry up, or the fry up, the cooked breakfast, I think, again, if you're having it on a regular basis, no. But if you're having it once in a week or once in a month, go for it, enjoy it. It is a bit hard to tack on a plate because it's greasy and it's saturated fat, and it's not great for our sausage, bacon, all the worst things. But if you're having it every so often, just go and enjoy it, really, is my message. And then you've got also things like bagels with cream cheese, smoked salmon. That's also really nice. But bagels are really high calorie because they're so dense, and then if you slap on the cream cheese, that it could be, 600 calories before you've even said, hello. And then adding smoked salmon, and then all the things on the side. So just be careful. And if, as a regular thing, not good. As a treat, once a week, once a month, once in 2 weeks, on holiday, go for it.
Yeah, I actually read with smoked salmon that it's quite high in sodium because it's
very salty because
it's smoked. So yeah, I think I cut that one out. But I read a lot also that bagels are good for your kidneys. there's these books that conflict. It's like bagels are good, and like so I'm guessing why I was like, why are bagels good? Like, because I love bagels, and I'm sure that they're like feel very salty, and also feel very feeling like compared to a piece of bread, very thick.
Very filling, very dense, really dense. There's nothing about bagels that are good for the kidneys. That is for sure,
Yeah.
right? It's the same as having, 4 or 5 slices of bread a day. A bagel is really dense, and I really say have it as a treat, not as a regular thing, especially if you're watching your weight. If you're trying to bulk up and you're trying to gain weight, then that's a brilliant breakfast to have, because it's really, really, kind of high in calories. And if you slap on the peanut butter or the cream cheese, then you're going to give yourself a good start to the day. But there's nothing good for the kidneys about bagels. Sorry.
Yeah. It's the odd thing that the misinformation on the internet, because you kind of read something and you're like, then you get it stuck in your head, and then you convince yourself. I think because salmon feels healthy, but then you don't realize it's smoked and the salt comes in, or salmon and cream cheese bagels are delicious, but obviously it's a bit of a calorie bomb. But I think that's kind of all we have for timing today. Is there any other last tips around fast food?
I think have it occasionally and enjoy it. Go for it.
Awesome. All right, guys, you can catch our other podcasts up now. This is our second one, and we did our first one last week. And catch us next time. We'll kind of be discussing another topic around kidney nutrition. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.